Story 1. The Watchers Beneath the Waves. The sea has always been a second home to me. I've spent decades on my boat, casting nets and battling waves. But after one unforgettable night, I came to realize there's something beneath the water, something we were never meant to see. It was a calm evening, the kind that lulls you into believing the ocean is harmless. I was far off the coast, where the water turns a deep, endless blue. As I set my nets, I noticed something unusual, a faint shimmer just beneath the surface. At first, I thought it was a school of fish reflecting the moonlight. But as I leaned over the rail, I realized it wasn't fish at all. They were faces, dozens of them, pale and otherworldly, just below the water's surface. Their eyes were wide, unblinking, and eerily human. Yet their features were stretched, almost alien. They were watching me. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. They didn't move, didn't blink, just stared with a terrifying stillness. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. It was like they were holding me in place, demanding my attention. Then one of them moved. Slowly, she rose higher, her face breaking the surface. Her hair floated around her like dark seaweed, and her lips parted to reveal jagged teeth. "You see us," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the gentle lapping of the waves. Before I could react, she reached out with a webbed hand, her claws scraping the edge of the boat. I stumbled back, my heart pounding. Suddenly, the boat rocked violently as more of them surfaced, their hands clawing at the hull. Panicked, I grabbed the nearest thing I could find, a flare gun, and fired it into the air. The bright light seemed to startle them. They hissed and retreated into the depths, their glowing eyes fading into the dark. I didn't sleep that night. Even now, when I'm out on the water, I feel their eyes on me. They're still there, waiting beneath the waves, watching. Story 2. The Forgotten Catch. Fishing has its ups and downs, but that day had been especially poor. After hours of empty nets, I decided to push further out to a place the locals called Dead Man's Shoal. I didn't believe in the stories about it, tales of fishermen who vanished without a trace, but desperation makes a man reckless. As the sun dipped below the horizon, my net finally snagged something heavy. My heart raced with the promise of a bountiful catch, but when I hauled it aboard, I wished I'd left it in the water. Entangled in the net was a woman, or at least something that resembled one. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, and her long, tangled hair was laced with seaweed. Her lower half wasn't legs but a tail, covered in dark, glistening scales. She didn't move. I told myself she was dead, just a strange creature from the depths. But as I reached out to free her, her eyes snapped open. They weren't the eyes of a human. They were black and reflective, like the ocean at night. Her lips curled into a smile that made my blood run cold. "Let me go," she said, her voice melodic but sharp, like the edge of a blade. I stumbled back, my hands trembling. She began to writhe, tearing at the net with clawed fingers. I wanted to throw her overboard, but something kept me frozen. "You've caught more than you bargained for," she hissed. Before I could respond, she let out a high-pitched scream. The water around the boat churned violently, and I realized I wasn't alone. Shadows moved beneath the surface, circling the boat. Without thinking, I grabbed a knife and slashed the net. She slipped back into the water, but the circling didn't stop. For hours, they toyed with me, rocking the boat and scraping their claws against the hull. When dawn finally broke, the waters were calm again, but I knew I'd been marked. The sea isn't just a place for fish, it's their domain. Story 3. The Song That Binds. There's a sound the sea makes late at night, a low, mournful hum that carries across the waves. Most fishermen ignore it, but I've always found it unsettling. That's why I keep a radio playing in the background, a small comfort against the vast emptiness of the ocean. But one night, even the radio couldn't drown it out. The hum grew louder, more distinct, until I realized it wasn't just noise. It was a song. It was beautiful and eerie, like nothing I'd ever heard. I couldn't understand the words, but they pulled at me, filling me with a strange longing. Without realizing it, I stopped steering the boat and let it drift. The moon was bright, casting silver light across the water. That's when I saw her. She was perched on a rock, her silhouette framed by the moonlight. Her hair cascaded down her back, and her tail shimmered like molten silver. She sang, her voice carrying over the waves, beckoning me closer. I knew the stories, knew what she was. But knowing and believing are two different things. I couldn't stop myself. I left the helm and stepped onto the deck, drawn by her song. As I got closer, I saw the truth. Her beauty was a lie, a mask that melted away the closer I came. Her skin was gray and pockmarked, her hair like tangled kelp. Her mouth, once soft and inviting, was lined with needle-like teeth. She stopped singing and smiled, her voice now a guttural rasp. You came for me. Before I could run, the water exploded around the boat. More of them emerged, their twisted forms clambering onto the deck. I don't remember how I escaped. All I know is that I woke up on the shore, my boat half submerged in the surf. But their song still lingers in my mind, calling me back to the sea.